It was a quiet afternoon, the kind where the sun shines through the windows with a lazy grace, casting long shadows across the living room. The hum of the air conditioning was the only sound that accompanied the rhythmic tapping of her fingers against the kitchen counter. A cup of tea, still steaming, sat untouched beside her, the silence enveloping her thoughts. Samantha glanced out the window, waiting for her husband, David, to come home. He had been out for hours longer than usual. She tried to push the nagging feeling that had been creeping in all day to the back of her mind. But it clung to her, like an unwanted guest. She wasn't sure when it started. Maybe it had been in the small, unspoken things, the late nights at the office, the sudden phone calls that he always took in the other room, his growing irritability when she asked simple questions about his day. Or perhaps it was the way he had begun to withdraw from her in their conversations, his eyes distant as if he were somewhere else, with someone else. Her suspicions grew, and she found herself doing something she had never imagined herself doing. Snooping. At first, it was just a passing thought, but the more she thought about it, the more it consumed her. And then, one evening, while David was at a meeting, Samantha found herself standing beside his car in the driveway, staring at the keys in her hand. The temptation was too great. She opened the door slowly, the faint smell of leather and something unfamiliar filling her nose. It wasn't unusual for her to sit in his car, but today something felt different. As she slid into the seat, her eyes scanned the interior, and that's when she saw it. 5 condoms tucked under the seat, neatly arranged in a way that seemed deliberate. Her heart sank. For a moment she couldn't breathe. It wasn't like David to be careless. He was meticulous, always so careful with everything. So why were these here? Her mind raced with possibilities, none of them comforting. She picked one up, turning it over in her fingers, the reality of what she was seeing slowly sinking in. These weren't just any condoms. They were new, expensive, and there were 5. More than he would ever need for. Well, what? She shook her head, trying to make sense of it. But the pieces weren't fitting together. The only thing that was clear was that David had something to hide. The questions flooded her mind like an unstoppable current. Was he cheating on her? If so, with whom? When had it started? And, most terrifying of all, how long had she been living in the dark? She shoved the condoms back under the seat, her breath shallow, her hands trembling. Her first instinct was to confront him right away, to demand answers. But something inside her told her to wait, to plan. She didn't want to give him the satisfaction of seeing her hurt, seeing her desperate for the truth. No, she needed to take control of this situation. If he thought he could play her for a fool, he was sorely mistaken. The thought of revenge bubbled up, sharp and cold. If he had betrayed her, then she would make him feel it. She would make him regret every moment he had spent lying to her. But how? How could she make him understand the depths of the pain he had caused? The door to the house creaked open, pulling her out of her thoughts. She quickly composed herself, wiping the tears she hadn't realized had fallen. It was time to play her part. David stepped inside, his face lighting up with a smile when he saw her. "Hey, love. I didn't think you'd still be up," he said. Setting his briefcase down. Samantha forced a smile, though her stomach twisted. "I couldn't sleep. You've been gone a while." He shrugged, not meeting her gaze. "Just a busy day at work. You know how it is." "I know," she said, her voice betraying none of the tension she felt. "I'll make you something to eat." As she moved toward the kitchen, she thought about the condoms, about the quiet, careful way he had hidden them. A small part of her, the part she didn't want to acknowledge, wanted to ask him about it now. But the bigger part of her, the one driven by something darker, knew that she needed to wait. The game had just begun. The next few days passed in a blur. Samantha played the part of the loving wife, perfecting the art of appearing normal, while her mind raced in 1,000 directions. David was as he always had been, charming, affectionate, even more attentive than usual. But there was a coldness to her now, a distance she couldn't shake. Every touch, every kiss felt like a lie. She spent her evenings at home, staring at the clock, wondering when David would return. The hours dragged on, each one weighing heavier than the last. His phone calls became more frequent, but they were always brief. It was almost as though he was trying to get off the line quickly, and his texts short, almost robotic. Nothing felt genuine anymore. Samantha had begun to notice the little things. His cologne always the same, but now it had a different scent, sharper. His clothing, his favorite shirts, were starting to smell faintly like perfume. Not hers. A floral scent that she didn't recognize. The red flags were becoming too numerous to ignore. One evening, while David was at a work dinner, Samantha did what she had dreaded. She followed him. Her car was parked a few blocks away, a heart thundering in her chest as she watched him disappear into the darkened streets. He had no idea she was there. No clue that his wife was lurking in the shadows, trying to make sense of his every movement. She trailed him for an hour, watching from a distance as he entered a small cafe. A woman was waiting for him. Samantha couldn't make out her features, but she knew it was her. Her stomach churned as they exchanged smiles, too familiar, too intimate for two people who were just friends. She watched as they sat down, laughing together, their hands brushing too often to be accidental. The knot in her stomach tightened, her anger rising, but she didn't leave. Not yet. She needed more. She needed proof. The scene replayed in her mind over and over as she sat in the car, parked on the corner, long after the cafe had emptied. David and the woman had left, her husband's hand on her back as they walked out into the night. That was the moment, the final confirmation that shattered everything. When Samantha returned home, her thoughts were a storm, the weight of betrayal pressing down on her chest. She couldn't face him yet. Not until she had a plan. Not until she knew exactly how to make him feel the devastation she was drowning in. The next day, Samantha's behavior was colder, more calculated. David noticed the change immediately, but he chose to ignore it. Instead, he tried harder, sending her flowers and leaving sweet messages. He tried to make her feel like everything was fine, like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Samantha could see through his attempts to mend what he had broken. He was trying to fix the cracks with expensive gifts and hollow words. She wasn't fooled. She would play along for now. Her mind spun with ideas, with possibilities. How could she make him truly understand the pain she was feeling? Revenge was a delicate thing. It wasn't just about retribution. It was about forcing him to see the consequences of his actions. That night, after David had gone to bed, Samantha stood in front of the bathroom mirror, her face pale and set with determination. She had a plan that would shake him to his core. She began by making a call to an old friend, someone who had connections in places she never would have thought to venture. A private investigator, someone who specialized in uncovering hidden truths. It didn't take long for her to get what she needed. More evidence. Hidden in plain sight, but undeniable. The investigator had found the woman from the cafe. Her name was Emily, and she was someone David had met at a business conference 6 months ago. It was more than just a casual flirtation. Emily had been to their home once, briefly, when David had invited her over for a work meeting. Samantha remembered that night. David had been distant, distracted. Now it all made sense. The lies were stacking up, one on top of the other. Samantha didn't want just to catch him in the act. She wanted to strip away his control, to make him understand that this wasn't just an affair. It was a betrayal of everything she had been to him. She would make him face it. Slowly, painfully. The day of reckoning came sooner than expected. David had left for work early, as usual. Samantha had spent the morning preparing. She went over the details one last time in her head. Then she sat at the kitchen table, the weight of her plan settling over her. She wasn't angry anymore, not in the way she had been before. Now she was cold. She was in control. At exactly noon, David called to check in, his voice warm and reassuring. "Hey, I'll be home around 6, he said. "Anything you need?" Samantha smiled, the chill in her eyes unnoticeable. "No, I'm fine. Just take your time." The words were out of her mouth before she could stop them. She had to make him think everything was normal. Had to keep him calm, to make him believe this was just another day. She hung up the phone and immediately dialed the number she had memorized. The private investigator was on the other end, ready to help. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. "Once you have everything, there's no going back." "I'm sure," she replied, her voice steady. "Do it." 30 minutes later, Samantha received the final confirmation. Emily's address. David's secret. His affair. David came home that evening to find the house quiet. He called out, but Samantha didn't answer. She was waiting for him, sitting in the living room with the lights dimmed, the atmosphere tense and heavy. Asterisk. David stepped into the room, his usual smile faltering when he saw her. "Sam? You okay?" he asked, his eyes narrowing. "Sit down, David," she said softly, her voice icy. He hesitated but obeyed. Sinking into the couch across from her, Samantha looked at him, her gaze unwavering. "You've been seeing someone else, haven't you?" The words were simple, but the weight of them landed like a blow. David froze, his face draining of color. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. "Emily, David, I know about her." Samantha's voice was low, controlled. "I know about everything." David's eyes darted around the room, as if searching for an escape. But there was no running now. "You can't hide this from me anymore," Samantha continued, her gaze sharp. "I know you think you've been careful, but you've left a trail. And now, I'm going to make sure you understand the cost of your betrayal." David sat there speechless as Samantha leaned forward. Her voice was steady, cold. "You wanted to play with fire, David. But now I'm going to make you feel it." David shifted uneasily on the couch, his eyes darting around the room as if searching for a way to escape. But there was nowhere to run. Samantha had crafted her trap carefully, and now she was about to tighten it. "David," she said, her voice deceptively calm. "Do you remember that night we went to dinner? You said you were staying late at work, but you came home so late. And I found the condoms in your car. Do you remember that?" She leaned in, her face inches from his, eyes cold as ice. "It wasn't just one condom. It was 5, David." His face flushed crimson. He opened his mouth, but words failed him. He had been caught. There was no denying it. No easy way out. "Who is she, David?" Samantha asked, her voice low and steady. "Is she worth throwing everything away? Is she worth the pain you've caused me?" David's face twisted with guilt, his hands clenched into fists. But still, he remained silent. He had never expected this moment to come. He had thought he was smarter, more careful. He had never imagined his wife would be the one to uncover the truth. "I deserve answers," Samantha continued, her voice hardening. "I've spent the last week watching you, following you, picking up the pieces of your lies. I know everything. I know about the business trip, about the hotel room, about Emily. I even know about the times you've lied to me about work, about why you've been gone. You thought I wouldn't notice, didn't you? But I always do. David's chest rose and fell as he tried to control his breathing. Sam, I never meant for this to happen. I didn't want to hurt you. I swear. Samantha tilted her head, her gaze piercing through him. You didn't want to hurt me? Then why did you? Why did you betray me? Why did you make me feel like I was crazy when I questioned your loyalty? Was that part of the plan too? David's eyes filled with tears, but Samantha wasn't moved. He had crossed a line and there was no going back. Answer me, David, she pressed. Who is she? And why? Why her? David's hands shook as he ran them through his hair, his head hanging in shame. Finally he spoke, his voice barely a whisper. I don't know. It happened. I didn't want it to, but it did. Emily ... She's someone I met a while ago. At a conference. She made me feel alive again. Sam, you stopped seeing me. You've been so busy with your work, your projects. You don't even look at me anymore. You didn't care about me the way you used to. Samantha's jaw tightened at his words. It was the classic excuse, the one she had heard so many times in other stories of betrayal. She had heard it, read it, understood it, but hearing it come from David's mouth was like a punch to her stomach. You think I don't care about you? She asked, her voice trembling with emotion she hadn't allowed herself to show until now. You think I didn't notice how you pulled away? I did, David, I noticed. But I didn't cheat. I didn't run off to someone else. I didn't throw everything away because I was feeling neglected. I dealt with it. I tried to work through it. David's eyes were wide now, a mixture of fear and guilt crossing his face. I never meant for it to be this way, Sam. I never thought you would find out. I was going to end it. I swear, I just ... I don't know what happened. Samantha stood up abruptly, pacing in the room. You don't know what happened. You had everything. A home, a wife who loved you. And you threw it all away for a woman you met at a conference. The tears she had been holding back finally spilled over. But she didn't care. She let them fall freely. Do you know what it feels like to be betrayed, David? To trust someone completely, only for them to shatter that trust like it's nothing. Do you have any idea what it feels like to love someone who doesn't love you back? David's shoulders slumped in defeat. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt you. Samantha took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. You can say you're sorry all you want, but words mean nothing now. You can't undo what you've done. You can't take back the lies, the deceit, the hours you spent with her, the things you shared with her that you should have shared with me. David remained silent, his head bowed low. He knew she was right. He had ruined everything. Samantha stood in front of him, her face hard and resolute. Here's the thing, David, I'm done. I've had enough. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend everything is fine. You've shown me who you are, and I'm not going to forgive you. Not today. Not tomorrow. David looked up at her, his voice pleading. Sam, please, don't leave me. I'll do anything, please. Samantha's lips curled into a bitter smile. You already did, David. You already did. She turned and walked toward the door, but before she left, she paused. She had one last thing to say. I hope Emily was worth it. Because in the end, you're going to lose everything, me. The life we built together. All of it. You're going to watch it slip through your fingers. And I'll be fine. I'll be better than fine. You won't be able to say the same. With that, she stepped out of the house and into the night, leaving David to stew in his regret. The weight of his betrayal heavy on his shoulders. In the days that followed, David tried to call her endlessly. Samantha ignored every single message, every phone call. She had made her decision, and there was no turning back. The first few nights without him were the hardest. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she had done the right thing. But then the anger faded, and she began to feel something else: relief. The burden of betrayal had been lifted, and now she was free. Samantha focused on her work, on herself. She began rebuilding the life she had almost forgotten about. Slowly but surely, she started to heal. She had been broken, but she was no longer afraid to pick up the pieces. As for David, he spent his days in a haze of regret and shame. Emily was gone, and so was Samantha. He had lost both women, and the reality of his actions hit him like a freight train. But it was too late for apologies. Too late for redemption. The damage was done. In the end, it wasn't revenge that brought Samantha peace. It was the realization that she deserved better, and in time she would find it.